Denzel Washington has to be the greatest actor of all time. He's certainly my favorite, and he hasn't been in a single bad movie. The Equalizer 3 is no different. This film is a great conclusion to the trilogy, leaving us with a satisfying ending to Robert McCall. However, there are a few things to be cautious of, so let's dive into it. First off, what sets this movie apart from other action movies is the down-to-earth story itself and the protagonist. All of Robert McCall's motivations are justified within the context of the movie, as he feels a strong desire to help others. Compared to other blockbuster protagonists, Denzel's character has a strong moral mission. That's what makes his character likable and different from others, like John Wick. Denzel's acting is of course going to be phenomenal. He's charismatic when he needs to be, and scary when he has to be. The rest of the cast is also very, very good. Now this installment in the series is different from the previous two, as the whole movie takes place in Italy.
Buongiorno.
It's surprising at first, but a welcome change of pace. All the locations are beautifully stunning and captivating, especially the small town Robert visits. This movie takes time to establish several characters within this small town, making it feel real, and you come to love it. Again, it's unique for the Equalizer to focus on so many different characters outside of Robert, but what the director is doing here is brilliant. By establishing other characters, we are actually able to understand Robert McCall's motivations and can empathize with his actions. Instead of being a mindless murderer, he's calculated, disciplined, and determined to help others. Speaking of action, The Equalizer 3 has some of the best action sequences in the whole series. The opening kickstarts the movie with a suspenseful bang, and it never fails to lose momentum. My favorite scene is when Robert is in a cafe and hurts the antagonist, which isn't full of action necessarily, but shows how badass he is. And the antagonists are so dislikable, yet they're not just generic mustache twirler villains either. Their story is fleshed out, and you have to think a bit to understand what's really going on. There was also a lot of thought put into the cinematography as well, with some stunning camera work and a lot of imagery. The biblical imagery in this one is on full blast here compared to the other two, but it makes sense within the movie. Again, it's thought-provoking, but it doesn't overtake the film. And some shots were so crazy, I couldn't believe I was watching an Equalizer movie. So yeah, the visuals are great, and plus there's an amazing soundtrack, which never really stood out to me until this one. I never noticed the soundtrack in the other two Equalizers, but the one here is great. It matches Robert McCall's fighting style perfectly, and has the right amount of spookiness, yet seriousness to it. Now, I wish I could say this movie is perfect, but there's a lot of stuff shoehorned in there, or seemingly forgotten plot points. It's cool to see Denzel and Dakota Fanning back in another movie together, but her character was extremely underwhelming. You think there's going to be more to her, but unfortunately there isn't. Although she's somewhat interesting, but it takes the whole movie for her to get to that point. I also thought David Denman was going to have a bigger role, but he didn't. And the last 25 minutes of the movie felt really convenient and didn't have the satisfaction I was hoping for. There's a courtyard scene where Robert and the town are confronted by the antagonist, and you think it's going to be the climax, but it ultimately isn't because of plot convenience. Overall though, this movie is a blast, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's a fan of action movies with good stories. It has captivating visuals, heartfelt scenes and characters, stellar action sequences, great acting, and Denzel Washington. 7 out of 10, better than John Wick 4.